Nigeria is in an electoral season, and once again the atmosphere is fired up with a lot of uncertainties. And as this 2019 general elections draw closer, ever closer, there are many questions nudging for answers and many issues requiring urgent considerations. In the studio with us is Olaseni Ajai, an executive member of Alliance for the Masses Political Alternative, to share this perspective on this issue. It's a pleasure having you on SaharaTV.
It's great to be here.
What are the major issues that Nigerians should be concerned about as far as this elections is concerned?
Well, there are quite a lot of issues, but to the average man on the street, the key thing is how will his future be guaranteed? How will he be capable of feeding his family? How will he get a job? And how will the society move forward? That's essentially what we are actually concerned about. So other issues, particularly to the regions where there are wars, how do we get peace? To the regions where you have pollution, how do we solve them? Essentially, when you put everything in a box, that you have a whole layer of problems, and how do we resolve them? And all of them are man-made problems anyway. So
let's start with the performance of the current government and the issue of saving democracy. The performance of this current regime have been everything but palatable. What's your assessment?
The regime, the results of today is not a surprise. The regime have not performed in any way, to address any of the problems that they claim they wanted to solve. Rather, they have worsened the situation. And we are not surprised, because in the beginning it was a whole package of deceit. Anybody who had been a student of history will know that what was packaged for the people in 2015 was a whole bundle of lies. And this is why the performance has been at the current level. No progress have actually been achieved concretely, when we see concretely speaking, in the areas of security. The wars are still going on and they have worsened. In the areas of anti-corruption, it is terrible. The situation is still as terrible as ever. We have not even touched on the surface, anything. And in the areas of moving the economy forward, the industries are there. The debt profile has increased. Foreign debts, local debts. The industrial indices are not favorable. You are not having a development. You are not really concretely having any development in key areas that can guarantee economic growth. Industries, for instance, manufacturing, for instance. So you have a whole, all what they packaged, and they continue to put out to the public are all not correct and not true. So
you made mention of the fact about the war against corruption, which was one of the bases or the din that's the package, so to say, in 2015. And Nigerians the cross-section of Nigerians have actually said that this war on corruption has actually been kind of sectionalized, so to say. They've been selective as far as this fight of corruption is concerned. And APC government now becomes a harbor point for every corrupt politicians, and the most corrupt politicians. In fact, the national chairman of the party was recently quoted as saying that once you have, in APC, your sins are forgiven. What does that tell?
Well,
especially Nigerian electors.
If it tells a lot, really, but if it is that they are even dealing with people concretely, that is those they are even going after, well, maybe we may say, maybe we can say, okay, all is fair. But that's not really the case. We discovered that, of course, it's not fair, it's not progressive for you to personalize issues, people that you have personal issues with, because it undermines the entire issue of having a firm society that has eradicated corruption. No, that's not the way it's and you have a lot of sensationalism going. But concretely speaking, when we look, say, when we are saying dealing with corruption as, as regards, undermining it concretely, the main issues have not been addressed.
What are these main issues?
For instance, let us talk about the privatization of PHCN, which, as we speak today, the consequences is still on the heads of everybody. It is one of the most corrupt privatization processes that took place in the history of this country. A corporation that was in the status of PHCN, which individuals shared among themselves in an untransparent manner, and they used not their individual funds, but they went to bank, under with government guarantee to get, loans under government guarantee, and afterwards, trillions of naira has gone into, even underneath this regime, has gone into the same venture. They all promised that they had capacity to deliver electricity, to distribute electricity, to generate electricity. They never had any, and all the resources that they brought into the PHCN, to power generation and distribution, came with government guarantee and with government handouts. Now, this is a scandal. And today we have, in fact, today the Nigerian public is suffering high tariffs, consequence of this, because the interest rates that have been attached to those loans, to that corrupt process, is still haunting us today. And so when Nigerians are saying they don't have a prepaid meter, they don't have this, they don't have that, all is due to this process. That's just one, when we talk about this. So, and when we're not talking about individuals that are corrupt, I don't think in this country today, if you want to start, let us start with all the governors, past governors, and co. Let us probe, our society from let us start, from 1999. We have individuals today who have passed through government offices and who cannot justify the huge amounts that they have, and who today are members of APC or PDP. Now, within the APC fold, we know that when you talk about the richest men in this country, they are there. You get, I don't want to use your media to be mentioning him, but I'm sure, we can talk about past governors that are giving themselves pensions, or courtesy of public funds. I know of government, we know of how a revenue collection process of a state is in private hands. So we can go on and on and on. And we see that since the emergence of this regime, not one, so of those crucial areas of fighting corruption have been addressed, not one. So we're picking Sambo, picking this, it's like, I don't know, when we compare, well, it's like when you're talking about trillions of naira and somebody going after a few billion or 1 billion, it's insignificant when and when you look at the total amount that they claim that they have got recovered until date, they say, okay, list the names of the persons that you have collected this and list the entire project. It's still not there. So when we talk about really fighting corruption, please, it's a sham. It's a sham.
Away from the war against corruption, another issue of concern has to do with national security. In fact, the level of insecurity in this country is unprecedented, so to say. The war against insurgency is far from over, and we look at the menace of headsmen. What's your view on this?
The first thing is this, and the processes that created Boko Haram still exist. It's like you are fighting the symptoms, but you have not fought the cause. So long that exists, you are not going to actually have anything, anything to actually, no positive result will actually come from that war. It's getting to the army has already gotten bogged down. The initiatives is coming from the terrorists. The terrorists have multiplied, and the army has created the objective condition itself to get, to get more people, push more people on the side of Boko Haram, and that's why all these issues of collateral damages, indiscriminate bombardment of people. It's a year since the Nigerian Air Force bombed IDPs. There are numerous reports of terrible conditions of the rank and file soldiers. All these things are there, combined with the massive poverty in Nigeria generally. These are conditions that created the condition for Boko Haram. Now, for a serious regime that will want to actually start, to address the issue, definitely we must address the objective condition that created the ground base for Boko Haram. And secondly, we need to, and also very importantly, we need to transform the Nigerian army. The Nigerian army still remains in the status as a colonial army, an army of the colonialists, that is to hold the entire people to ransom, and that actually has to change. The army has to be opened up. The high commander has to be sanitized, and the level has to be increased. And when we talk about the People's Army, it's necessary. It's only a People's Army that can really smash, or end, the Boko Haram insurgency, and because you can't do it with the way these people are pursuing. You are going to actually worsen it. The same applies to the herdsmen development issue. Of course, we know that there are serious ethnic factors attached to it. Another objective condition that we looked at. Now, you see that by the fact that they have not developed the agricultural sector, it's primarily it's still in the subsistence level. They have not developed that sector, and on the basis of that, you have a situation for which you have clashes between the nomads, and the settlers, based on the increased agricultural activities. And of course, primarily on the issue of the conflict is ownership of land. And you see, the regime does not say it openly, but they talk about the question of where you see there are what you call the cattle routes, since the 50s or so, and that's, these cattle, they are not, of course, when somebody is saying there are cattle routes, the president still emphasized that in the last media debate. The question is, who owns that cattle route? Because of course, if somebody has planted planted yam on what you claim is a cattle route, are you saying that you own that cattle route? And it's a reflection of the fact that if agriculture had actually been developed, or had been developing, had been transformed into, lesser persons will actually, in a sane society or in an advanced society, lesser people do participate in the agricultural sector. In the United States, less than, I don't know, I can't have the exact figures, but less than 3% or so of the population actually engage in agriculture, and they feed effectively the people. And so they are not investing in ranching. They are not prepared. They want to keep agriculture still at the level of the subsistence level. And what will that generate? It will generate, conflict. And when it now involves, we own the land, you don't own the land, all cattle routes, are you saying that all the cattle routes are owned by the cattle, the herdsmen? It's going to bring about more. So you have this, and it has worsened, the situation has gotten worse. And the only solution actually is for a government, a regime, that will have a policy of building those ranches, and having a democratic management, but essentially diverting funds, serious funds into investing in those areas that requires, that require heavy duty investment to actually let us have a better condition.
Great. Another issue that the electors are also looking at is the issue of the economy. Economy at present is, to say the least, in a comatose state. There seems to be no visible investments on critical infrastructures that will stimulate the economy. Does this regime have the programs or policy framework to resuscitate the economy?
Of course they don't, because they are working on this. This regime is, don't forget, is a continuation of PDP. Just change the name to APC. Because the same formats or the same principles and the same programs that they are working on. You get so, and the programs are dictated from the IMF and World Bank. It's those are the same lines that they continue: privatization, free market, and things like that. And for a society like Nigeria, we cannot say we want to produce toothpick and say until somebody will come, quote and unquote, before we can have it. If you want it, you need to invest your money into it, and and get things done. So they are not going to actually, since it is this continuation of that same program, it is not going to actually change, and the economy will continue to nosedive further. And you can also see that they have piled up more debt at the expense of the local economy. So what do
the extra debt profile is growing at an alarming rate, so to say. One begins to wonder, have we ever got here? Away from the economy, another issue that most of the voters are actually also concerned about has to do with the neutrality and capacity of INEC to conduct credible elections. What's your take on this?
I think everybody's fears are justified. We have seen what is, even currently, we are seeing the intrigues going on within the judiciary, right now, and also we have seen the intrigues within the INEC. It's a continuation of the failed, how can I say, failed, I don't want to say structure, but failed methods of the past. We can see that a process of rigging has commenced. Of course, from the last 2 days, the fact that they could not even attend the debate tells you how they have the kind of contempt they have for the people. In a normal situation, if you do not attend, a public debate, you are going to lose the elections. But here, they are so sure that, debate or not, we are going to actually have our ways. In spite of the fact that they have been rigging the debates over the past, within the past period since we started, they have rigged, so many, and they are putting so many posters, But in spite of all that, you can see that it is not enough. They are tending towards, physically rigging, and that's why, just some days ago, INEC released some new guidelines without consulting with the political parties, without input from political parties, and they changed quite a lot of the rules for the impending elections, and that in itself is grounds for more conflict, on the electoral, on the day of the election. So,
all right. Finally, the capabilities of candidates, especially the new breed candidates that are coming, standing for elections. What will be your assessment of the ability to rein power from these hydra-headed APC, PDP behemoths?
Well, the issue of capacity, I think may not be in proper context, because it's a question of interest, and the question of properly identifying, each of the trends. In Nigeria today, I continue to emphasize that we have 91 political parties, but we actually have 2 interests to be served. So we look at each candidate, whose interest is in, and the interests are just 2, not 91. The interest of the extreme minority, those who control, the economy and co, the super rich and co, and the interest of the 99% of the population. Who do you want to actually serve? And I think when we look at it, we look at the programs that they are coming forward with, and whose interest. So when we put all that together, when you look at many of the new persons, you discover that they are not in any way different from PDP or APC. For instance, some are saying they want to sell an NPC. So whose interest is the sale of an NPC? Is it in the interest of the common man, or is it's not definitely not the interest of the 99% or the overwhelming majority who are living in abject poverty today? No. They come and they say they want to increase fuel price, and it's in a very dubious way they say they want to increase fuel price. They keep on talking about subsidy, that you see this subsidy must be removed. If people need to be honest, people need to tell them to be honest. Tell us, what do you mean by increment, the withdrawal of subsidy, termination of subsidy, or fuel subsidy? Termination of fuel subsidy implies you are going to increase the current price of fuel, to 200 or whatever. And when you say deregulation, which is actually anarchy, that is, you can buy fuel today at 200 naira, day after tomorrow you can make it 300 naira. That's what they are talking about. Our society needs planning our society needs regulation. So when we look at all these things, and when I don't want to start mentioning names, maybe we should be concrete. The Mogalus want to sell NNPC. The Ibzi wants everything she talks about is private sector, in essence, private interest. Our society needs something, we need public interest, because essentially when it is only on that basis that we are actually talking about.
Considering the fact that we actually need public interest, is Nigerians or are Nigerians ripe for a seismic change as witnessed in democracy?
Yes, the whole essence of living now, is to change and move forward. This is not this society is drowning with 87 million people in poverty, and no future for government. This society is drowning. These are reflections that people are losing confidence in these traditional parties, which are parties of deceit. People are looking for parties that will represent their interests. So they are looking for those people that are bold, that can tell the truth, that when they will know they are also sincere enough to implement what they are actually talking about. Not people who are going to be, not the normal politicians, the normal quote and unquote, normal corrupt politicians who will tell you anything that just for the purpose of getting your votes, and then, when they take power, they dump you. The process now is people are looking for a political change they can be part of. Because when that time comes, when they take power, which is inevitable, they are not going to leave that government alone. They will want to be there to implement those policies that will change things. Not the same policy. All the policy. Now, when you now put that when you put all what we are saying within the context, you discover that there are just two major interests. All the others are actually advocating the same things. If any one of the persons we were talking about, the other persons take power today, they have already told us what they want to do. The economy is not going to. They keep on shouting. The economy is not going to grow. They want to increase fuel price. They cannot pay 100,000 naira or the living wage. They keep on saying, although yesterday they said they want to pay 27,000, I don't know. So when you put all those things in context, the only way, is for the people to go the other way, and they are going to actually do it in the coming period. That I'm so sure of.
Thank you very much, Olaseni Ajai, for your insightful analysis.